Welcome back to Daily Harmony, our journey through A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
And, yesterday we were talking about, that idea of inner peace
Right.
and that stillness that's within us. And kind of building on that today, I thought we could take a deep dive into lesson 132.
Okay.
I loosed the world from all I thought it was.
You know what's so fascinating about this lesson to me is like the idea that we can actually have this power
Yeah.
to release our judgments and our preconceived notions
Yeah.
about the world around us and choose to see things in a new way without all of that baggage.
Yeah, so let's break down that phrase, I loose the world. It's
That's
not like the world's going to disappear, right? It's more about like how we view it.
right. It's like the framework that we've kind of built around it.
Yeah.
And to release the world really means to just consciously and deliberately let go of all those judgments,
Yeah.
the beliefs and assumptions that we've projected onto everything,
Oh, yeah.
you know? So think about it this way. Your experience isn't necessarily a direct reflection of reality,
Okay.
but rather it's your interpretation of it, filtered through all your past experiences.
So it's almost like we're always looking at the world through these like glasses that are tinted
Uh-huh.
by our experiences. And this lesson's kind of saying, hey, take the glasses off, see what it really looks like.
That's a really good way to put it because it's like our ingrained false perceptions
Yeah.
and judgments.
Yeah.
They're rooted in our past experiences,
Yeah.
our beliefs, and they act like these lenses that distort how we see things.
And this is what's so interesting to me because this connects with that whole idea in the course about perception versus reality.
Right.
Truth. Like our perception is what shapes our experience.
Yeah,
But it's not necessarily reality.
exactly. And the Course is always emphasizing that.
Yeah.
Our perception shapes our experience, but it's not necessarily in alignment with that capital R reality.
Yeah.
And what we observe and how we understand it is really influenced by our state of mind.
And how do our thoughts then play a role in all of this?
Oh, a huge role.
Yeah.
Because, if our perceptions are the glasses,
Okay.
then our thoughts are kind of like the colors of the lenses.
Yeah.
And so our thoughts have a huge impact on how we experience the world.
Right.
And if we can learn to question them and examine them and shift them,
Yeah.
especially those negative judgments,
Right.
then we can transform our whole experience.
Okay. So this sounds really great in theory. But how do we actually do this? Like, how do we loose the world in our daily life?
Well, the lesson kind of gives us a few different practical approaches.
Okay.
And one of the most important ones is to really cultivate this daily self-awareness
Yeah.
through reflection.
Okay.
So throughout the day, just become more aware of when you are judging things,
Okay.
when you're judging situations, when you're judging people. That's the first step, just to notice it.
So just notice when we're judging. Okay. Got it. But then what do we do?
Well, once you've noticed it, question it. Ask yourself, is this really true?
Okay.
And is it helpful?
Okay.
Is holding on to this judgment actually serving me in any way?
Okay.
And you'll often find that those judgments are really based on like incomplete information or past experiences.
Right.
That might not even be relevant anymore.
Yeah, it's like we're playing out these old tapes
Yeah,
in our minds in these new situations.
totally.
Okay.
And they don't even fit.
Do you have like a specific example of how this might look in like everyday life?
Sure. Imagine you're stuck in traffic
Okay.
and somebody cuts you off,
Right.
right? Your first thought might be, that person is so rude, inconsiderate.
Right. Yeah.
But if you pause for a second
Yeah.
and challenge that assumption, you might realize, well, maybe they're rushing to the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe there's something else going on. We
Yep.
don't know the whole story.
So we're just making assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we judge,
Yeah.
we close off the possibility for understanding. But when we question that judgment,
Yeah.
we open ourselves up to other possibilities.
So it's about being open to the unknown rather than jumping to conclusions.
Exactly. And the lesson also talks about some more structured practices we can do
Okay.
to help us with this, like meditation.
Okay.
Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Okay.
You can focus on the idea of loosening your grip on your perceptions.
Okay.
You're just kind of visualizing those thoughts drifting away
Yeah.
and allowing space for new insights to come in.
So visualization is a big part of this.
Yeah.
Can you explain how we can use visualization in this context?
Sure.
Like, how would that look?
Take a few minutes, close your eyes,
Okay.
and bring to mind a specific judgment that you're holding on to.
Okay.
about a person or a situation.
Okay.
And then see if you can picture that judgment as a physical object.
Okay.
Maybe it's a heavy stone you're carrying, or a tight knot,
Yeah.
or like a dark cloud hanging over you. And then imagine letting go of it,
Okay.
setting down the stone, untangling that knot,
Great.
watching the cloud drift away.
And that will help us release it.
It can. It can
Yeah.
really help.
Okay.
Like that.
The lesson also mentions affirmative statements.
Right.
How do those fit in?
Well, affirmative statements are basically positive declarations that you repeat to yourself.
Okay.
And it's a really powerful way to reprogram your thinking.
Okay.
So you could create statements that align with this idea of releasing judgment.
Yeah.
Like, I choose to see this with fresh eyes.
Ah.
Or, I release my past interpretations and embrace the present moment.
Okay.
And by repeating those to yourself, you're basically planting new seeds of positive thought
Yeah.
to replace the old limiting ones.
Right. And what about journaling? How does journaling help us with this?
Journaling is a great way to reflect on your experiences.
Right.
And in this case, the lesson encourages us to think about times in the past when we've let go of a judgment. And what happened? Did our perception of the situation change?
Yeah.
Did things improve? And by writing about these experiences, you can really see the impact of letting go.
Okay.
You can see how powerful it can be to shift your perspective.
So it's like proving it to ourselves in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've got all these practices: reflection, meditation, visualization, affirmations, and journaling. And by doing these things, we can loosen our grip on how we think the world is
Yeah,
and start to experience it in a new way.
exactly. And that shift is so important
Yeah.
because when we let go of those attachments to false perceptions and judgments,
Yeah.
we open ourselves up to a clearer vision of truth and love.
Because those judgments aren't really truth, are they? They're just our own interpretations.
They're our own subjective viewpoints based on our past.
Yeah.
They're not some objective reality.
Yeah.
And recognizing that is huge.
Yeah. And if we let go of all this, how can that affect our relationships with others?
It can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, when we release those preconceived notions about others,
Okay.
our interactions become more open, more understanding, more compassionate.
Okay.
We can start to see people with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
appreciate them for who they are,
Right.
instead of projecting our own stuff onto them.
So less projection, more connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can lead to less conflict,
Right.
less misunderstanding,
Yeah.
and a greater sense of unity.
So what's like a simple step our listeners could take today to start putting this into practice?
Well, for today, try this.
Mm-hmm.
Just observe one judgment that you have about someone or something.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a big one. Just a small one will do.
Okay.
Notice it without getting caught up in it.
Okay.
And then picture that judgment as something you can set down,
Right.
like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Just release your grip on it and step away.
Okay.
And then for a few moments, try to see that person or that situation with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
without the weight of your judgment.
Yeah.
And just see if you notice any shift in your feelings,
So simple, yet so powerful.
right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always a journey.
It is. It is. And thank you for joining us today on Daily Harmony. If you found this helpful and insightful, please like and share this deep dive with someone who might benefit. And subscribe so you don't miss our future explorations.
Yeah.
We'll be here tomorrow for the next step in our journey.
Okay.
And for today,
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. What aspects of your life might feel lighter and more joyful if you consistently practice releasing your preconceived notions?
Yeah.
What new possibilities might open up for you if you let go of what you thought the world and even yourself was?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.